You cannot possibly tell me that $600 billion spent on the Olympics is not better spent subsidizing into local businesses and into the society that Ned claims is marginally benefited in this debate. 3 points of clash for the House today. First, will countries use this for their own self-interest? Second, what do the economic benefits look like on either side of the House? And third, are citizens marginally benefited in this debate? On the first point of clash, they've widely asserted the idea that there are going to be some economic benefits, but moreover there is going to be this goodwill of the country, that this is a positive thing, that the Olympics is a great unification of all the countries, and thus nothing bad could ever come of it. This is fundamentally wrong, because we can see that Olympics is used by developing nations such as Brazil, such as others, that use this as a catalyst to hide their whole identity of being impoverished, of being discriminatory, of being an utter lack of hygiene in their entire country. This is what is being projected. This positive, all sports, all luxury. But what this actually does is it means that the international and global community is less incentivized to go and help these developing nations, because the image that is projected to them is the one that is of luxury, the one that is all happiness and positivity. You don't see the actual detriments that are happening for these developing nations. Too many times these developing nations project this image, they don't get the help that they need, and moreover, they spend so much money pumping into establishing Olympic grounds, which all need very specific needs, such as equestrian, that you need like whole grounds for that, then you need a pool, then you need a diving board, then you need so many other factors all in one country. All of this money could have been spent marginally benefiting the people in our society. The government is using this for their own self-interest to project themselves in a positive light through the Olympics, when really what they're doing is hiding the fact that they don't want to help their people and only care about their self-image. Moreover, they told us the idea that this could bring more cultural appreciation because of the increased amount of tourists. But why is bringing in tourists not necessarily a good thing? We can see with a lot of these developing nations that the governments tend to be very, very corrupt. What this means is that they may begin to push the ideologies further onto these tourists, thus decreasing their reputation as opposed to what they thought was going to happen, because tourists are going to come back and feel like, why was I being so pressured into doing all these things? Why was I constantly seeing posters about how to live my life and how to act in these developing nations? The fact is, corrupt governments who host the Olympics use this as a catalyst in order to push their corrupt ideologies onto everyday people. They present themselves as very positive, but what they're actually doing is using this as a guise to promote their ideology, to further indoctrinate our society as a whole. But at the end of the day, this goes to the back of your mind, because what you're thinking about is, I'm just here to watch the games, I'm just here to enjoy, but in the end, you're just being indoctrinated. We've won this point of clash because we're able to effectively prove that the countries only have themselves in the mind, that the people in power are going to be the ones who benefit from this, because the local economies, nothing good comes out of them. The citizens are critically destroyed even more, because money is now not being subsidized back into them. Only the wealthy benefit this, only the people in power benefit this, and thus we should simply just abolish the Olympics so that the governments can actually focus on their people's interests and not their own. So the second point of clash looks at the economic outcomes of today's debate. Now, the wide push here is that the opposing team believes that because there's going to be more tourism, that means that local businesses are going to be able to be marginally benefited, and this is just going to be bringing more revenue, more money into the country through international tourists. This is fundamentally wrong for a few reasons. First, you can't possibly just assert the idea that in 16 days of tourism, where there might not necessarily be an overwhelming amount of popularity as you want to assume, because people might just watch it from home, they're not necessarily directly incentivized to go to the country. But second of all, the fact is, a lot of these stadiums and a lot of these grounds, they're not built in areas with lots of local businesses. They're built in extremely industrialized and centralized areas where local businesses simply don't thrive anyways. It's just the big strip malls and the other big companies that thrive in that sort of centralized area because the rent is so high. You can't possibly claim that local businesses are going to be benefited when they're not even built in the same areas as the Olympics. People aren't going to necessarily go all the way to find those local businesses because that's not their primary objective. Their primary objective is to go watch the games. The only spending that they're going to do is perhaps they'll go outside, get a hot dog, but that hot dog comes from a factory that makes a ton of money, that has a ton of factories. It comes from a company that wipes out these small local businesses. Those are the only people who benefit from this. It's the wealthy once again. The economic benefits would be significantly better on our side of the house at the point where you don't have the Olympics, at the point where you spend $600 billion directly subsidizing back into education, back into feeding people in poverty, because this correlates to real benefits that the society is not going to have in the short run, but in the long run when they're as a more developed country. The focus of these countries shouldn't be necessarily to promote themselves as good, but to actually help their citizens. And that moves on to my third point of clash on why citizens are marginally better on our side of the house. So they broadly asserted that there's going to be more cultural appreciation. Well, this isn't going to be, we've already refuted this idea. But second of all, they brought in this idea that because there's going to be more economic benefits, that this means that generally the society will improve. Okay, the economic benefits are significantly less than what you actually might think. All this money goes to the government, and then this government, they don't even put it back onto these low socioeconomic societies. They don't even put it back into education. They just go into more industrialization, more support of capitalization. This doesn't benefit them at all. So any of the revenue that you would have gained from this Olympics doesn't necessarily benefit the society. What we would just have is spending $600 billion onto directly benefiting the individuals, the people in poverty. On our side of the house, we effectively prove that by not wasting money on the Olympics, we directly benefit the society and everyone in it. Thank you.